Hi everyone, Ryan Ratliff here from Mad River Outfitters, and thank you for joining us for this week's fly tying tips, where we're going to teach you everything you need to know about tying your own flies. Thanks for joining us again for this week's fly tying tips. We're going to continue our series on hooks and streamers specifically. Make sure that you tune in at 3 p.m. Eastern to get the next series. Hit that subscribe button also. That'll help out and let you know when it comes in. Hooks. Remember, we've talked about the different types. We talked about this is the skeleton, the platform that you're tying on. And it's real important to get this down. And so we're taking a couple videos on streamers because there's lots of options. When you look at all the options for streamer hooks, it can be kind of overwhelming. Streamers have a lot more going on, a lot more design in the heads and bodies. So you need to have multiple different types of links, shapes, wire types, all kinds of different things. So we mentioned last video about the game changer and how you're basically tying on a lot of shanks to create a spine to let the fly move a lot. Well, we need to have hooks in there also, and we need to have a various size shank lengths of hooks. So this hook here is relatively short shank. So this is the big game changer. So the head of this fly, the hook that's here, is relatively short shank. But if I just used a short shank hook and didn't take into consideration the hook gap with this bulky of a head, you might not be able to actually hook the fish. It might look good until you squeeze it and compress it and realize, wow, I can't actually get the hook gap open enough from the material to actually hook the fish. So same thing with the little micro or mini changer. This is the little shad version. So the shad version is a little bit taller. So we need to still make sure that even though we're building that up, we have enough hook gap in there. Again, this is like a spine. And so that short shank hook just continues out that spine. So lots of different options there. Of course, Arex is one of our favorites. There's lots of different types of hooks. Depends on weight, all that stuff. So give us a call if you have questions about this stuff. We can definitely help you sort all this out on what option that you want. We're going to ask you some questions about what type of length of fly do you want? What do you want the fly to do? All those types of things. Here is one of the Leggy Boys, one of Schultz's patterns. So this also is a 2-hook fly. It has a lot going on, but it's got the spine. The back hook is a short shank, so it just continues that spine. But real important, the front hook has to be wide enough gap to be able to deal with all this head and bushiness of that crustaceous brush to be able to fold that back when you set the hook and actually get enough hook gap into the fish. So main thing when it comes to these articulated or the game changer style platform is that you have the hook shank short enough to fit in the skeleton and also a wide enough gap to deal with the bulkier materials. So since we're kind of talking on shanks just shortly, we're not going to go too much in detail about the different lengths and all that. That's on a future video. But there is some swinging flies. Those of you that know me know I love to swing the fly. So this is a silly leg intruder, but it's basically tied on a shank and the hook is back here. So here is just a platform that you're tying it on. So again, we'll talk more about that and rigging and all that different stuff, but the hook is way back here. So you're not actually tying on the hook on this fly. So just something to kind of think about there when it comes to shanks. Your typical woolly bugger hook, this is going to be a 3 or 4X long. This is your white size 6 woolly bugger. If I had to fish one woolly bugger, it'd probably be a white one. This is the stereotypical streamer that you would use for just about any species. Once you start wanting to make it a little bit bigger, there's only so much hook shank you want to go with before it starts to not be able to swim right, or maybe when you hook the fish, there's too much leverage. So you might start articulating it, putting two hooks together. So again, this is a 4X long, just regular streamer hook here, but you might actually want to start putting two woolly buggers together. We always joke that Kelly's flies are just basically two variations on the woolly bugger put together. Here is a tips up, one of my favorite Stillwater flies. It's got the popper corks in the back. Again, there's just a little bit of hook gap. This is a commercial fly. I probably would have had a little bit bigger hook gap there, but you want to make sure that if you're putting something bulky like this on there, that you got enough gap to be able to hook the fish. So basically, it's kind of like a pattern of two woolly buggers hooked together. This has some rubber legs, some dumbbell eyes, but you want to make sure that you have enough hook gap up here to be able to deal with all the rubber legs and hook the fish, and also in the back hook for whatever you're putting on. So hook gap is extremely important. Also, since it's kind of basically a woolly bugger platform, you need a little bit longer shank to be able to handle the rubber legs, the marabou tail, wrapping up all the body. So that's why you go, basically, we always joke that it's two woolly buggers together, but that's why you need that little bit longer shank instead of one of the like game changer hooks with the short shank, because it's a little bit bigger skeleton, a little bit longer. A lot of times we're going to use two hooks like this. These are MFC hooks. You have the wide gap streamer hook here for the front. Then you have the vertical eye in the back. Those are fantastic. The vertical eye makes tying that articulation a little bit quicker. If you don't want to do a vertical eye, you can just do two of the regular horizontal eyes hooks, but this is just something that maybe not too many of you might know about, this vertical eye. So when you are using or tying a fly that has a larger head on it, like a popper, this is Witt's frog. This is a great bass fly, kind of a staple, very similar to the Taps bug, very similar to the fruit cocktail, just different color pattern, a little bit different shape. But notice that this hook swoops down a lot, and there's a very large gap here. This is a stinger style hook. Stinger style hook, very popular one option is the B10S. Also, there's some 8089s from Umpqua. Those are great choices. Also, Ahrex has some stinger hooks too that we carry. That style has a shorter shank, but it swoops back slow. So if you do have a bigger head, it allows the hook point and everything to be a little bit farther back, and it has an extra large hook gap. So kind of a good design for something like this, where you don't want a super short shank wide gap. You want something where it's still a shorter shank, but puts the hook a little bit farther back, but not a long shank. So that's what a stinger hook would be. Again, we're going over this really quick. If you have questions, make sure you just call us. We can sort all this out for you. A lot of times, you can get by with one or two style hooks on lots of patterns. So this is a popper here. There is also options for doing streamers with the B10S, where you want that short shank. And I forgot, I left it down here. Here's one of Katie's flies that she tied up.
Check it out at madriveroutfitters.com. The new Mad River Outfitters Campfire mugs make coffee taste better.
And this fly is going to have a couple B10S hooks in it. It's going to allow you to get enough shank to put the head in there, to put the body on there, but also still give you the hook gap that you need for tying the fly. Also, the back hook, she put a shank in between because they're short shank hooks. We want to have enough gap in there. And then there is a little bit going on with the body in the back, so we don't want a super short shank, but like that wide gap. So good platform for the flies that you have going on there. All right, so going into, we touched base on that short, small fly last week with that big, huge, strong hook there for your different species. Again, just because it says it's a short shank wide gap doesn't mean that the wire diameter might be what you need for your species. So make sure that you are taking into consideration also. So here's another, this is one of Katie's flies, a take on a John Ray fly. John Ray out of northern Michigan. This is one of her takes on that. This has a bushy head, so she went with a wide gap hook. So just to make sure there's plenty of gap in there. You don't need to like make sure your finger can fit in there, but you don't want it to be buried up so much that you can't even compress it and all you can feel is just the point, but not get all the way back to the bend. So something to kind of think about when you're planning out your streamers and sketching them out, laying them out, all your different, especially if you have shanks, lay those out and kind of get an eyeball and a plan that what you're going to do. Just throwing junk on a hook or on a shank might not work out the way you want it to. So try to have a plan. And also, if you have questions with this, again, give us a call because we can always look up the pattern if we don't know what it is and we can help you out. So again, lots of stuff here on streamer hooks. We can go on and on and on and on about all the different styles, but that would be way too boring and I don't have enough voice for that. So what we're going to do is make sure that you call us and we're always here to answer your questions. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like button, all that stuff. And again, all these flies and hooks and all that stuff are always available at madriveroutfitters.com. And if you're having trouble, like we always say, make sure you give us a call. We are here to help you. Take care.